So, welcome to the latest edition of Lunchtime Learning. I'm delighted to be joined by Alice Bullard, who is the MD from Nested. So, Alice, thanks very much for joining me.
No, you're
We
welcome.
may well also be joined by two dogs as well today, who always want to put their two pennies worth or two barks worth in as well. So, apologies if anybody's watching this or listening to this and it goes absolutely bananas. I'm expecting people to knock on my door, so it could. But this is live. This makes it fun.
Yeah, this
So,
makes it really fun. I'm excited.
and thanks very much for joining me today. Tell us how you got into a state agency. Let's start from the bottom. Talk
Yep.
us from where you were to where you got to, and then we'll pick it all and break it down.
Yeah, sounds good. So I did fall into a state agency. I started as a kind of a Saturday worker in a local estate agency office near me, just to bring in a few pennies during university. And I just loved it. I loved meeting people. I loved showing people around. I loved the kind of the buzz and the thrill of getting an offer. I was paid hourly, so I wasn't kind of financially incentivized to get those offers, but I just still loved it. And then one day I kind of like I'd finished university and I was between a few acting jobs because that's what I studied at university, and all of the kind of the offers that I was doing with the viewings were going to someone else. I thought I should be earning from that, and I was looking at the time of how much commission they were taking from my work, and I was like, no, actually, I want to earn that. So I went full time as an estate agent. And, you know, my boss at the time, he was great. He would allow me to go out and do auditions. And I took 6 months out to do an acting job, and he was like, come back in 6 months. So it gave me a lot of flexibility and freedom. And then I eventually thought, actually, I enjoy this way more than I do the acting, which was stressful. And so I just decided, yeah, I'm going to do it full time. And here we are, I guess.
Okay, so what did you take from your acting career into becoming an agent?
Good question. I think definitely confidence. I wasn't a very confident person growing up. I've kind of mentioned it before, but I had kind of quite a lot of difficulty with my speech, and that didn't give me great confidence as a child. I loved learning monologues from Shakespeare that I could recite because I knew exactly what I was going to be saying. So I kind of fell into acting, and I guess it gave me that persona. And I think that in sales, if you, I think having that confidence and the belief in yourself as an individual, I think is a really important thing. So I think it gave me a lot of confidence. It gave me a lot of knockbacks as well, which I think has helped me with my career. I used to go into an audition and I used to sit down in the waiting room, and I'd spent hours preparing for that particular audition, and I'd be surrounded with people that look exactly the same as me. You would never get any feedback. You would never understand why you didn't get the job. You would go, I almost got a lead role in EastEnders. I was one of the last two, and the other girl got it over me because it was a girl coming back, a character coming back. It was Lucy Bill. And she was coming back into it from an actress that played her previously. And they said she just couldn't really decide. She looked a little bit more like the other girl than you did. And, that was almost kind of, and it's all that you get so far and then you get knocked back. And that's really hard to pick yourself up. And I think that if you've been through situations like that, I think that can kind of be helpful in every type of industry that you go into. You don't get things on your lap handed to you in life, and you have to pick yourself back up. You have to learn from it and carry on going. So I think that's kind of really what it taught me, I would say.
100%. I think in this industry, you've got to make rejection your best friend, because you're going to have so many no's. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how did you build up that confidence and self-belief then?
Oh gosh, I'm not fully there yet. I think we talk a lot about imposter syndrome in our industry, and I think it's a really important topic, and I definitely still suffer from it right now. So I guess there's still learning that I can be doing. I mean, this is my first live one, so we'll see we'll see how it goes. But I think just putting yourself out there to do new different things. and challenge yourself, I think is a really big thing, to keep pushing, keep learning, keep figuring out what works for you, what doesn't work for you, etc. I'm definitely like a doer. I'm definitely like a doer person, and I think that I learn best from making mistakes and keep going.
Okay, so what's been your biggest mistake you've ever made then in agency, and what have you learned?
One of the things I'm not very good at is thinking on the spot. I'm a person that always says, can I just have 10 minutes, or let me reflect on that and I'll come back to you, because I definitely not very good. I'm waffling now because that's what I do when I'm trying to think of an answer. A mistake I've made. The first thing, I'll be totally honest, first thing that comes to my head is probably staying in my last opportunity maybe a little bit too long. And I think we're all kind of guilty of it sometimes. Work really well. Oh, there's Chewy.
Yeah, keep going.
I think that we're all guilty. If you work with incredible people, which I did in my last firm, it's sometimes really hard to say, actually, now's the time for me to leave. And I think I should have left probably about 6 to 7 months sooner than I did. That said, everything happens for a reason, and I maybe wouldn't have been where I am now. I wouldn't have got the opportunity to go to Nested, because Nested, I don't think it was around 6 months before I joined. So everything does happen for a reason. But I think that was the biggest thing, is like, actually, sometimes when you need a new challenge, it is really hard when you work with incredible people. And I knew that 6 months before I actually made the leap.
They are going bananas. That's why I muted you. So we keep going, and then I'm going to ask another question, and I'm going to mute you. I'm going to mute you again.
Okay, no worries.
Nothing personal.
That's okay. What happens with live.
It is. So you went from university. You went to an agency. So one of the things you talked about is dealing with rejection. Okay, and we do get those and knockbacks every day. So again, how do you deal with that now, and overcome that? And also, you talked about stress before. How to overcome stress, because it is being very stressful. Being able to deal with stress, it's being stressful in whatever position you are as well. So how do you overcome
that? Good question. So let's start on the stress one, because I think that kind of links into the second question. Everyone feels it, right? Everyone feels pressure, whether that's kind of if someone's like, obviously we're a self-employed platform, so there's the kind of the financial pressure, I guess. Are you shouting at them to be quiet? That might, I know with my dog, he will just, if I try and get him to calm down, he gets even more excitable. With stress, I think for me, it's I guess I feel one of the stressful things that I find with my role is that I feel like really kind of, I guess, personally attached to the agents that we have. Like, I really, really want them to succeed. And sometimes I have to understand that actually I'm not completely in control, and sometimes it is out of my control when they don't. How I deal with that, communicating to my team, like, if I'm feeling stressed, then there's a good chance that maybe some of my team are feeling stressed as well. And actually talking, like, I've got them in the office today. We've had a situation that's happened over the past week that's been a bit stressful for us all, but we've managed to talk and communicate it as a team. And I think that that's a kind of a biggest stress reliever, is just like being really open about how you're feeling. And actually sometimes things really do suck. And sometimes it's really good to just be really open about it. That's, I guess, how I deal with stress is communicating. And then the first question you had was around knockbacks, how you deal with knockbacks. you just have to learn from them. Like, you just, like, yeah, we've had a few people that maybe have recently decided not to either come onto our platform because it's not the right time, and you really want them to kind of come on to the platform, and they decide not to, and understand that actually if you've done everything possible to win them round, and they've decided not to, that's the right decision for them. And I think you can, with your own estate agency, if you think about, if someone decides to go on the market with another kind of competitor, or another high street agent, or whoever it is that you were competing with on that valuation, as long as you've gone in there and you've been true to yourself and you've done everything possible, I think that you just have to understand that sometimes people make decisions and they don't always go your way. And if there is anything you can take from that and learn from it, fantastic. If not, you've just got to not take it personally and keep going. As long as you are true to yourself as an agent, and you're giving the right advice, you can't be going wrong. And it's the same when it comes to my job now. I'm giving the right advice to people when it comes to whether self-employment is right for them or not. And sometimes it's not, and that's okay. That's good. That's good to make sure that you're being yourself about it.
Thank you. I am going to ask you another question and then go and keep the dog quiet, okay? So,
yeah.
From your point of view, you've been, they're quiet now, they're coming in to join me, right? So you started off, I believe, at Nested 6 years ago.
Yeah.
You have risen through the ranks, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Become MD. So there must be loads of lessons you've learned along the way. Yeah,
there are. Like, do you want to know some?
We'd love for the audience to know them. Yeah, and what have you learned from them, please?
Okay. I think the biggest learning that I've had is the being able to adapt to change. I think if anyone's on this webinar now that's worked at Nested before, will know that things change within our business very quickly, or have done in the past. And it's just startup world, right? When a company starts, its life as a company, it doesn't always end up being what the initial, I guess, vision of the company was, and that's certainly what's happened at Nested. I've been here for, I'm looking at the date now, it's August. I've been here for 6 years in September, so I've seen a lot of that change. I've seen a lot of people come and go within the business. I've seen a lot of tweaks to the model, priorities kind of changing very quickly as a business, and being able to, I guess, adapt to that very quickly. And some of those changes at the time, you think, you don't necessarily agree with, but, if you keep to, I guess, if you want a business to succeed, and you want to be part of that, actually being able to adapt to change very quickly, I guess, I'm sure this happens in every business in every industry, is a really important one. And I guess you can link that back into your personal lives as well. Things can change very quickly with your personal life and situations, etc. And I think that like knowing and like kind of picking yourself up, going, okay, that wasn't great. I was heading in this direction and now I'm in that direction, but I'm now heading that direction, and that's the path I've got to now follow, knowing that it's probably going to change at some point, and who knows when. It's that kind of ability to change. And I think I've been at Nested now 6 years. I love the business. I love the brand. I love every single person that I've worked with. And I am so committed to making this business succeed. So kind of coming back to your question, like, what have I learned? Just the ability to adapt to change, and just know that that's the path that you're supposed to be on.
Okay. So then how, obviously the culture must have changed in those 6 years, from where you first started to where you are now. How would you go about building a culture in in an agency, in a team?
I've said it already in this call, so I don't want to sound like I'm kind of going too hard on it, but I think communication is just like, you've got to make people feel like they're part of something, right? You're part, and with, I guess that's with Nested previously, when we were 150 strong employed team. Everyone's employed, everyone is, I guess, working for Nested, it's very different to the business now, where we've got a huge number of self-employed agents, but the feeling of like, we are still a team, we are still wanting to work together, it's a partnership now. We're here to hold like ourselves accountable to what we promise you, and we're holding you accountable to, I guess, representing utilizing the Nested brand. And within culture, I think it is really difficult when people are self-employed, because you want to give them that flexibility and freedom, which I really hope our agents know that they do get, but also at the same time feeling like they're part of something. And it's like that, striking that balance on how you do that in a really, really positive way. There's never been one time my whole 6 years at Nested where I feel like personally the culture hasn't been there. Don't get me wrong, there's been tough times for sure, but I think working all towards like one goal and one vision, and I really do think that with the partners that we've got on a platform, they're very, very kind of synced into what we stand for, which is giving customers a very good experience, and being that kind of go-to agent in their area. We've got some incredible agents working on our platform that just all just give an amazing service, and I'm so proud of that.
Fantastic. So obviously you've worked with a lot of people, you're working with some incredible people now. What do you think the qualities are that are needed to be a top performing estate agent?
I think to be a very good estate agent, you have to care and you have to love what you do. I think if you don't love what you do, I think that there's a very good chance that maybe you won't hold yourself to maybe certain standards. So I think you've just got to love this industry. That's my personal opinion. There may be some people that disagree, but I personally think that's kind of very fundamental. And I think that when it comes to being a self-employed estate agent, I think there are lots of other things that you really need to be mindful of as well. I think if you just sort of think that you're going to open your laptop and the phone's going to ring the first day of being a self-employed estate agent, then you are mistaken. That's not going to happen. You have to, boots on the ground. You need to go out there and you need to generate those leads. And that is part of, like, I guess, the conversations that I have with people about honesty, is that you really do have to go out there and graft really hard. And if you think that you can be on a golf course, I say all the time, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon every day, then I just don't think that you're going to be successful. So grafting really hard, putting the customer front and center of everything that you do, like questioning yourself all the time, is this the right thing for the customer? Is this the right choice for them? Or is this the right thing to be doing by this customer? And then, work ethic and loving what you do. I think that's personally my kind of top 3, I guess. But I think there's loads. We could be here all day debating that question. It's a good one.
Okay, so what sort of questions then are you asking at the interview stage to find out how much they care, what they do for their customers, how empathetic they are?
Well, I always sort of meeting with an agent, I'll always find their reviews. I'll always go onto the review sites or look at the estate agent they're currently working for and seeing, even if they haven't got any name drops, I think that can really tell you if you've got recent reviews from a local high street. They're part of coming from that team. So they should, I say that if there's a particular high street agent, I guess, that's performing really well, it's getting really good reviews, I think that's a really good indication of what that type of person that is. I always just, I guess they're not kind of questions, they're just kind of clarification points of like, how long have you been thinking about this for? Because I think that I'm having conversations with people now that are thinking January is when they want to be launching their estate agency, which is absolutely the right thing to be doing. It's like, I'm not putting any pressure on anyone to do it any sooner than when they're ready. How much effort, I guess, are they putting into customer, I guess I ask just questions around, can you give me examples of where you've gone the extra mile, and all of those kind of questions of like, if people should have really good examples of where they've done that. And personal branding, we hear about it in in our industry all the time, and I think it's really important if they're already out there growing their own personal brand. Sorry, that's my internet phone that's ringing. I don't know if you can hear that.
Okay.
Let me just turn that off. I didn't realize I was logged into it.
That's right. You're getting your own back on me now.
I know. It's really like an annoying ringing tone as well. It's ling, bling. But yeah, so I guess I kind of do a lot of research and reviews about people. I think that everything's out there on the internet, right? So you can always find the answers that you're looking for quite quickly.
100%. So you talked there about personal brand. How are you seeing the best agents build their personal brand? What are they doing to make them more successful and stand out than anybody else?
Yeah. Good question. I think firstly, coming back to reviews, like posting reviews, I think is a big one. Like the moment you get a good review, or even just the moment that you've got an exchange or a completion, or even if a client decides now is not the right time to sell, but you've advised them on market conditions, etc., ask for a review and post those reviews. Make sure they mention your name. It's great if they mention the brand, of course, but like really make sure that they're putting you front and center. People on like social media interacting with local businesses. I think is a really big one. I always say to all of our agents, the moment that you decide to go self-employed, or the moment you're even thinking about going self-employed, be finding out who their local solicitor is, be finding out who that local independent mortgage advisor is, be making those contacts and those connections, because those really, really do help in the early stages. But yeah, so personal branding, making sure that you're putting yourself front and center, and the reviews that people are buying into you is a really big one. And people should be, if they're ever thinking that I might go self-employed at some point in the future, it might be 1 year, 2 year, be doing it now. Be doing it now, even if you're in a big corporate high street estate agency. And I think there are some really good examples in our industry of people that do that, where it's all about them, even though they're part of a big brand.
Okay, so where are they going to get those properties from? Give us a few tips. You talk about grafting, and being foot on the ground, and I can't even remember the program that just started on Sunday night, Crazy Estate Agents. Which actually, and I know it's a edited, highlighted, all put together, and I'm sure certain things weren't like that, but I was watching it with my partner last night, and she wasn't impressed, and estate agents have all got a bad name, and you can see why looking at all these things. But I know, being part of a Green and Company fly on the wall documentary, I think about 14-15 years ago, what actually happened and what ended up on the TV are two totally different things, even though it was incredible for business. But it definitely doesn't portray estate agents right. So I know him standing on the gate of the Bishop's Avenue shouting out, he ended up getting 2 instructions. The less we talk about the open day, the better. But
I haven't watched it yet, but it is on my list. I think I'm intrigued to watch it, and just
apologies for the spoilers.
But no, so the question, good question. This is one that I think is debated a lot in our industry about whether it's right or wrong. And I sit on the fence of absolutely it's right, which is door knocking. Like, our most successful agents are the ones that are out there door knocking. Now, it's not about being intrusive. It's not about kind of pushing yourself on a client in their doorstep and wanting to come in, but it is about showing that you're proactive. It is putting a face to a name and sort of wanting to be helpful to that client. Like, they're the hottest leads out there. They're out there like in full blown view. They're people that are on the market for a reason, that they want to move. It's not like you're cold selling a product at the doorstep of someone that hasn't asked for a dishcloth, right? Like, they're not asking for some makeup, whatever it is that someone, Tupperware, whatever they're selling on the doorstep, they are wanting to sell their house. So if you are there and you are, saying, look, hi, my name's Alice, like, really don't want to be intrusive. I just want to give you my business card. I've got a little bit of information here about me. I love your house. And it's not about over promising. It's not about going, I've got loads of buyers. But it is about like communicating and starting and saying, like, I'm a bespoke estate agent. I am here to give you a personalized one-on-one session. How's it going? When did you last hear about, when did you last hear from your client? I think especially at the moment, like we are in the quietest month of the year. And I always say that August seems to be quieter than December from my own experience. Be out there knocking on those doors, because those properties that are on the market, they are there's a very good chance that come September they'll be forgotten about, because there'll be a brand new kind of like bunch of new stock coming to the market. We've all seen the stats about kind of the second agent. So, and look, it's not about kind of being disrespectful to your competition either. But there are people out there that are desperate to get themselves under offer and agreed. And if you're the one being proactive, I think that that's a really positive thing. So, I've had agents that have door knocked £1 million properties before, and won instructions off the back of it quite recently. So, it's not even just that. Don't be afraid of that higher value stock either. In fact, they're the ones that probably are not actually getting anyone door knocking. So go after the big stock is my advice. So yeah, that's it. I know that there's probably a lot of people on this call that maybe don't agree. You've got to feel comfortable doing it as well. If it feels outside your comfort zone, don't do it. But if you do feel confident doing it, or go out with someone that maybe is confident doing it and seeing how they do it, I would really recommend it.
So August was always my favorite time of the year. Okay.
Yeah.
I would deliberately not go on holiday then, because that's where I did most of my business, because everybody else was switched off and I was really switched on. And the last 4 or 5 months of the year, I did really, really well, really well. So, there are definitely opportunities lying around in the market. I think I'm going to do a LinkedIn poll now as to door knocking or not door knocking, and see what people say, which would be interesting to see. But there's definitely a right way and a wrong way of doing it. I always remember being told on one of my training sessions, somebody said they were in a house that they were selling, and there was a knock on the door, and it was an agent, and they said, "Oh, I see you got the property on with X and Y Z agents. Do you know what? They're absolutely useless. I don't know why you bother giving it to them." And the seller said, "Well, do you want to tell them, because they're at the top of the stairs?" And so
that's funny. Well, they deserve that, because again, I think it is, you've got to be really respectful for other agents. And also, I just think it's a really bad look if someone was trying to sell themselves by slanging off someone else. I would not see that as a positive thing. Like I want to be bought into you. I don't want to be bought into how bad someone else is. So I think the way that you do it, I think, is key. But hey, like there is stock out there waiting to be taken, and they probably will move an agent at some point to another agent. Why not let that be you? So yeah.
Okay, you talked a couple of times about accountability, and you talked about you being an action taker. So for me, the best agents are the ones that take actions, and the ones that take and implement stuff. So how can you again advise, what tips can you give to people watching or listening as to why it's so important to take action, even if it doesn't work out and it's a learning? I prefer learnings rather than mistakes. That's just my language. So
yeah, I like that. So the question is, how do I do it? Or
so how would you go ahead and take action and be an action taker? Because there's so many people just sit there and they don't take the action, they don't implement stuff. They miss it. They're missing out on so many things. Whether it's starting on videos, whether it's door knocking, whatever it is, whether it's building their personal brand. How did you just get started and just do it? And why do you think implementation and being an action taker is so important?
Yeah, I guess everyone works differently, so it's all about figuring out how you work, how you work best, and also how you work best with the team around you. The way that I do it, or the way that we do it at Nested HQ, we've got a board. It's a digital board where we have like categories. So we have like what people are working on this week, what things need to be put in place for next week, any kind of like conversations that we're having about various different things, and we have assigned to those onto those things. And every single day at 12 o'clock for 5 minutes, we have our stand up. Now that was in person today because we got the team in, but that's also virtual during the week. And it's literally 5 minutes to go through the board and for people to give updates on what is assigned to them. So I think that kind of, I guess, putting your name to something in a team that you work around, like you hold yourself accountable to it, because you know, and it's works with myself as well. Like I've got stuff on that board, and sometimes if I've not done something that I should have done by a particular point, you know, I've got to say, I've got to bump that to next week because I've not been able to do that this week. And like you say it out loud and you say it to the team, but then you turn around and say, I promise I'm going to get this done by the end of the day tomorrow. And it's holding yourself accountable to it as well. So that's how I do things with the team that I've got here. I guess everyone just needs to find out what works for them, and whether that is a whiteboard in a room, if you're working, you're self-employed, and you know, you write it out, whether it's blocking time in your diary to make sure that you do that, whether it's saying to your partner, hey, can you make sure that by the end of the week I've got 10 addresses from all the door knocks that I've done. Can you hold me accountable to that? Finding out who, I mean, even, you know, I say to our agents all the time, like, you know, if whatever you need from us, if you want us to hold you accountable for something, we'll do that. If you're saying to me, you'll go out and do X, Y, and Z, I'm happy to check in with you next week and go, hey, how was X, Y, and Z? So that's how I do it. And that's how I do it with the team. It works for us. But everyone's got to find their own way of doing it, I guess.
Brilliant, fantastic. Look, I'm incredibly grateful for your time, so thank you. How do people get hold of you?
My email is alice@nested.com, so really easy. Always available on LinkedIn. I'm also just around London, so if people want to ever just meet up for a coffee, or a chat, or a drink or whatever, like, just reach out to me. I always love no agenda from me. I just love meeting people in our industry, because I just think it's a great industry. I love it so much, and the more people that I can connect with, the better. Is my opinion.
Couldn't agree more. What a lovely way to end. Thanks very much, Alice. Really grateful for your time.
No, thanks, Stephen.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.